Okay, this is going to be kind of a quick rant about some of the problems I've seen with, I guess, a lot of players in Gundam. A lot of people that are playing my backs. I don't really see it as much of a problem as a front because it's more of a back-specific problem. And it comes down to, like, making bad trades. Because a lot of damage in this game is going to be very trade-based. Like, you're just going to put yourself out of position a lot of times to get a hit, and you're going to make yourself more vulnerable in order to do hits. There are some hits that are obviously much more safe of a punish and much more dangerous of a punish. And, obviously you want the most damage. You don't necessarily want to, do this as a punish when you instead, if you know that they're completely free, you're going to want to be like, yeah, ooh, yeah. I mean, that's obviously way better, doing stuff like that. But the problem is, what if you take is that, like, not even the full knockdown. What if you just take, like, main right back because you did that route? Well, it's now done less damage effectively than you just doing that kind of punish. And not only did it do less damage, especially if you're playing the back, this is what's more important for, I think, some of this, because I think even a lot of people realize that, but as the back, it puts you closer to the overcost. And in somewhat of a more subtler sense, this is just another thing, because you're hit, because you got knocked down, your presence is no longer on the field. And this is a problem I tend to have a little bit more as a friend. I get frustrated, my back's taking too much damage, and I play so aggressive that I get shot and knocked down. But that actually means that my back's now getting pressured more because I wasn't able to relieve the pressure by being still shootable, by still existing. So sometimes you want to judge that balance of you want to appear to be the most shootable while not being the most shootable. And I try to play that way with even backs, and sometimes I get a little risky playing it that way. But especially as a friend, that's like kind of sometimes a good mindset to have, is to like appear to be much more shootable than you are. Sometimes. I mean, everything that's part of the issue is that when people try to give this advice, I'm sure good players will have arguments saying, well, no, this is why you're wrong. This is why you're wrong. But that's the thing. But a lot of times I see people doing this stuff and they just overcost. And it's because a lot of times, like, let's say, for instance, I wasn't locked at all. And my teammate's being double locked. And the enemy team's boosting around in the air. It's a Z-gun, a very common problem. Z-gun's boosting in the air, being like, oh, whoosh, whoosh. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's bullying my teammate, and he looks so free and open. And I'm doing that while I overheated, and then Z turns and slaps Gyro on me because I was just overheat committing for no reason. Or let's say it's going a bit better, and I'm not so stupid, or the Z's, and I'm not maybe fighting a Z because there's so many things that can go wrong with Z because the missile's coming out. Let's say I'm chasing like a Gundam instead, something that's not going to get you shelled, and then I see the Gundam's like overheat. I'm like, yeah, and then I get the punish, and then the guy shoots me, and it's like, well, yeah, because you were doing all that stuff. When if you were just like boosting around on the ground, playing really safe, and then you saw him land, even if you only did main as a punish, it's still more effective. Even though the damage swing is very comparable, it's still slightly better in your advantage. You're still up, so you're still able to apply presence on the field, and you're not getting closer to that overcost. And I guess that's what I'm really trying to say. Like, stop, please, dear God. If you're the back, stop pressing melee. Now, there are times when you want to press melee's back. Like, let's say my teammate here is at like 150 HP, and they're in shooting burst, and they're aggressing the other guy down, and this guy's panicking, and I'm at like 580, 450. I still got enough life where I will not die in OC. That's a fantastic time as a back for you to start being like, my teammate's in burst, I'm looking at you and I'm doing this, and I'm like, oh boy. Now, you really don't want to get hit because that's going to mean your teammate's free for a double lock. But you just kind of applying that threat, or if you see you have the opportunity, then going for the melee, fantastic decision. It's a great decision in general. Same with sometimes if you're in a similar life situation. So maybe your teammate's not in burst, but you're in a similar life situation, and your teammate's doing a combo, and you're like, I'm gonna stop the guy from punishing my teammate doing a combo. But the important thing about all of those situations is you have to be ready to lose life and HP before you make these trades. Like, especially as the back, like, and that's kind of the problem, is like, you have to go like, is it okay for me to lose HP at this moment? And I know it's like, quote unquote, never okay to lose HP, but is it okay for me to make a gamble that I could lose HP at this moment? And if the answer is yes, I mean, go for it. I mean, if your teammate's obviously about to lose a match, like, you want to go for the melee damage, you want to be the biggest threat you can be, I mean, go for it. Like, if your melee is going to win the game, go for it. Like, if you have tons of life and your teammate's already on life too, and you're at like 400 life as a 2K, go for it, have fun, start playing, you know, start playing that more aggression. But please, dear God, like, if it's round start, your teammate has like 400 HP and you're at 580, you don't need to be pressing melee yet. Wait to conserve that life, wait to conserve that aggression until your teammate's bursting. I mean, there's always exceptions. There's always the guy who's just horribly out of position. His teammate can't possibly help him, and if he turns to help him, your teammate's going to kill him. And there's also teams that kind of play like this double heavy aggro where it's kind of just accepted that you're going to die and get the OC, but it just doesn't matter because your point is just to put them in double tie man and just punch them into the dirt and going, we're better at 1v1 than you. We're better at 1v1 than you. And that's fine too. And that's part of the frustration with sometimes getting, you know, these concepts across. And I think another thing I kind of hinted about is if you're not being looked at, don't do that. I'm really tired of seeing people when they're not being looked at doing this and then like panicking when they get looked at. And Brave Commanders are really bad at this too, because Brave Commanders won't be getting looked at and they'll be like, oh dude, I'm sick, I'm doing the Brave Commander thing. And I'm like, nobody was looking at you. Do the Brave Commander thing once somebody starts looking at you and you're running out of boost. Like, but it's a common problem with a lot of suits where they do that. When instead what you should be doing is like, you're not being looked at, just move like this. Just move in. It's fine. And then if maybe they turn to look at you and you're like, ooh, maybe not just boost in straight lines. Like maybe you put in a Fua hot, maybe hold the boost a little. You know, stuff like that can be very effective. And just try to keep your boost above half. So then when they do, if they hit your teammate, or if they just turn on you, then you can go like, oh shit, and then you can run away. And that's going to win you so many more games as a new player. Also, this does way too much damage on G. I found that out recently. But, yeah. Good luck. Please stop killing yourself, panicking when I'm double locked, and then I watch the replay to see what went wrong, and I watch you, you know, doing this in green lock for the first half of the game, and not hitting anything, and then you run out of ammo and you go like this, and you're like, yeah, I'm sick, and then you get punished, and then you overcost me. And well, actually no, because see, here's the thing again, is a lot of players will then be like, oh well, shit, I'm at like 200 HP, and I'm gonna play defensive, and then Master Gundam slaps Fighting Burst and kills him. Like, oh man, there's nothing you could have done about that. And it's like, yeah, you should know not to be at 200 HP as the back when there's a Master Gundam and the enemy team that hasn't hit Burst yet, because you're gonna die. That's pretty. I don't know what else to say. Like, there's ways out of it, but like, that's not a gamble you want to be risking. But yeah, so I think that pretty much covers the rant, the frustration. Just some basic think about your trades, think about how you're gonna punish people. Stop panicking, stop freaking out. If you're not being looked at, remain calm. Oh, there's one more thing. When you're trying to cut somebody, so this comes into like cutting. Which please, as a back, a lot of times, please try to cut more. Like I'm actually at the point where I appreciate people trying to cut more, but if like Master is meleeing your teammate, like one, definitely don't go in and try to melee cut him. Like, dear God. But two, even then, like trying to like overheat. Like, let's say you have like this much boost left, and you see your teammate getting hit, and you're like, ah. Well, a lot of times the guy's gonna have enough steps to do that. So if you see your teammate get hit, land to the ground, and then start going and applying the shooting pressure. Such a change in your life. It will change everything about how you punish people. And you say, but what if I cut a little bit later? Okay, then they do 20 more damage to your teammate. But here's the thing. You're not going to get in that horrible situation where, one, you fail to punish them because they had more boost than you expected and you get punished instead. But you also, like, it's just a lot less likely for you to like then overcommit, and then the back, which was sitting there doing nothing except sucking his own toes, or who the heck knows what they're doing over there, isn't going to punish you for overheating to get the punish right back. And like, they could easily do the same thing you are, but it's like, just be calm. Like, especially if you see a Master, like a lot of times all you have to do to like cut a lot of melee suits is just land and then boost vaguely near them, and they freak out and they go, oh, I'm gonna melee you now, and then you just kind of like, you know, back off and then maybe shoot them and maybe punish them with something. And they're still going to win the trade. It was still a very good trade for them, unless it's a back doing a melee for the obvious reasons I said before. But more importantly, the trade's not going to swing even worse in your favor. Like, you don't need to, and even then, like, if your teammate gets hit very early on in their boost cycle, like, you know that Master just landed and did a melee, don't even try to cut Master. Just look at the other guy, or keep an eye out for Master, because sometimes just if that damage is already flown, don't throw good HP after bad HP. It's already over. That's already done. Stop doing it. So yeah, like, and yeah, I mean experiment sometimes too, because there are some suits that can always just kind of rob you because they have nonsense, or like a really good Gyro, or like, you know, if it's going to be the game hitting point, obviously you have to go and cut. Obviously there's exceptions to every rule, but it's just kind of stuff I see all the time, and I think it's why it's very frustrating to play through 3K Front with a lot of players, because I'm not sure how much they know these things, or are like even aware that they're making an error. And I think that's kind of the problem. Also, watch your replays, please, and have a good day. Bye.